I promised y'all a face swatching video, and so that's what we're going to do today. In my line of work, I tend to accumulate a lot of makeup. It's probably self-explanatory, but what is the point of having all of this makeup that is pretty much carnivorous at this point, if not to swatch it all on my face in a very unhinged fashion and compare them all for you? I'm trying to make useful content out here, y'all. That's the main objective of this channel, even if I end up looking a little bit foolish by the end. So we are going to be talking about beige blushes today. And we've done this video a couple of times before. Obviously the blushes have changed because time has passed, but I'm taking a little bit of a different approach today. I separated them out between the coolest, the neutrals, and the warmest, and I'm going to apply them on my face kind of in that order so that you can see what works best against the other things that are in your kind of undertone color story. It'll become sort of self-explanatory as you like see it happen, so let's go ahead and jump in. So here is my color theory spiel as it pertains to beige blushes, because what is beige? You know what I mean? Beige is basically a neutral nude. Nude changes with your skin depth. My nude is not the same as your nude. It's, you know, whatever your skin color is, or, you know, thereabouts. And neutral also isn't the same on everyone. So in order to create neutrality for those for whom things tend to go orange, I have collected a bunch of beigey mauve blushes. For the ones for whom things tend to go a little bit too gray or too desaturated, I've separated out the peachy beiges. And then right here, I have what I would consider to be the neutral beiges. And as we go, I will explain not just who they're for if you want them to turn beige on your skin, but what they'll do on your skin if you're not that undertone. So we're going to start over here in the mauves. A mauve beige is going to have more purple in it, more blue in it, right? And it's gonna probably be less saturated, but there are some that are deeper in here as well. And that's because green undertones tend to cancel out pink. And so in a formula like this, if you're working with just a neutral beige, let's say, this one you cancel out the pink, you're gonna end up with a lot of orange and not really much else. And when I say cancel out, they do kind of turn beige, but it's gonna really expose the remaining color, right? So what do? We add more of what it cancels out. So we're heading more towards pink, and that's going to give us more of a purple beige. So while this is ideal to turn beige, by the way, this is Spell from RMS. Gorgeous formula. I love this stuff. It doesn't dry down all the way. It is a pure cream, but it is really firm at room temperature. So I feel like it has a lot of wear time even for just a regular balm, you know? So while this is going to turn beige on an olive undertone, you can see it still turns quite pink on me. And that is because I've got a lot of yellow in my skin, but not really any blue. And the yellow is canceling out that purple. And so you're ending up with something that is more pink. And that's what I get out of a mauve blush a lot of times. But if you have a blue undertone, blue is going to be trying to cancel out orange, but there by definition isn't much orange in this. And that's what I mean when I say it might turn kind of gray, depending on the saturation level of your blue undertone. If you are really desaturated or really fair, you might be able to get away with it without it going too desaturated on you. But a lot of times with a blue undertone, you can actually compensate in like the peach direction. We'll show you that too. And so I'm neutral. This is what a neutral is going to get out of this. Next, I have Loyal from Hourglass. This is in their Vanish Blush. Do they still make this? I don't know. And this is a little bit deeper, but also a little less saturated. But you see, it doesn't have quite as much purple in it because as my skin is canceling it out, we're getting an even more exaggerated pink. So a green undertone is going to get a little bit warmer of a beige out of this. I decided to include Gucci Soft Plum in the new Glow Blush because this is very much the same kind of temperature value, but I wanted to show a variety of skin tones here. And while this is very much plum on me, a deep olive skin tone or a medium olive skin tone is probably going to get something quite beige out of that without it being too desaturated for you. Next, I have NARS Behave. Now I do have two NARS blushes in this bag because I have kind of a lighter and a deeper version. This shade range has just exploded lately, and so there's so many options. I'm actually gonna stick this over here because it is so light, it's almost more useful to see it against Spell, but you can see it is a little bit more saturated and a little bit more towards neutral than Spell, but also this is a powder. So it's like as it blends out, you're going to see more of your skin through it than you can see right now. It's harder to build up a swatch of a cream product. I also have here NARS Infatuated. So like I said, that's gonna be basically just like a deeper version of that. I do feel like it has more blue to it too. So it's been desaturated with blue, but it's also just darker. So that is going to provide a beige for like a medium or deeper skin tone, like I said, just kind of a brown color, or it's gonna give kind of a deeper, richer, sunburny flush to a fair olive undertone. Here I have Sleepy Girl from Rhode. This is another gorgeous medium saturation mauve color. And for all of its nuance of the color, it doesn't have a lot of white backing to it. So if your skin is light enough at all for that to show up, I don't think that it's going to go ashy. It might not be pigmented enough to show up on everybody, but I don't think that it is going to have the white backing. Now this will. This is our coolest one, and this is the Powder Kiss Lip and Cheek Mousse. We just started testing these on my channel from MAC, and this is in the shade It's Personal. Okay, this is for the fairest olive of them all. The fairest, oliviest of them all, okay? Like you need something so insanely desaturated, that's going to give you beige, and it's freaking gorgeous. This formula isn't like any of the other ones. It is moussey and very silicone-y. I mean, it works great on the lips, but I also really like it as now that they're doing it as a lip and cheek. I also have here Toasted Teddy from Rhode. Now this fits into this undertone story because it's not building pink back in as much as it's building red back in. So when we're talking about richer skin tones that have that olive to them, a richer color like this is going to give you that more of a nude brown beige. See? So it's like a very similar undertone to these, it just happens to be a lot richer. And on me, of course, this is like an ideal, you know, exaggerated sunburn shade. And then I have Tan Line. This one is, I think, one of the newest ones, and it is even pinker, I feel like. So it gives you some options, but I almost feel like the formula is different from Sleepy Girl. Look at it, like it's just more pigmented altogether. It has a higher pigment load. This one was really hard to get that swatch out of, but Sleepy Girl is definitely still cooler, and this one's a little bit more towards neutral. It looks peach by comparison almost. Here's a familiar face. We have Garçon. Well, actually, is it Garçon? Because it's O-N-N-E. I'm reading it like the actual, you know, word that I'm familiar with, but I guess N-N-E is some kind of like feminine suffix. I know nothing about French. Nothing. Don't listen to anything that I say. But we were talking about this in my last video because Westman Atelier has been putting out some new shades in their contours. And previous to that, this is a pretty darn good contour for an olive undertone. And so that makes it, you know, a pretty good beige. But you can see, I mean, it's cooler than like all of these. So while these might go beige, this is like gonna give you a lot of desaturation. So it might be more of a contour than it is a beige blush. But I wanted to at least include it just for reference. Next, we have the Jones Road, the bronzer in Dusty Rose. This one really surprised everybody because it was like, whoa, that's a bronzer? And a lot of olive people were like, it sure enough is, thank you very much. And honestly, even if you're not an olive undertone, you can use it as a blush. So, gonna stick this one right there. Absolutely gorgeous, really beautiful. I love this formula, really big package and everything, but just that is a color theory approach to a bronzer or a beige for an olive undertone. I think that it's going to show up more pigmented, obviously on a fair olive. It might not be pure beige on you, but you might be able to get a really sheer version of it. I do think that it can work all the way up to like a light medium. Is this thing not unbelievable? Oh my God. I feel like we haven't talked about this in so long, but I used to love these. This is the Skin Mimetic Micro Suede Blush from Make Beauty in Celestial Rose. Oh, it's so desaturated and pretty. I'll put it right here. Oh, yes. So there really are a fair amount of these out there. I don't think that this is an uncommon kind of color to find. And this one you can tell has a little more red than it does purple or pink. So it's gonna make for more of a peachy beige on your olive undertone. But I think that the approach altogether of thinking in terms of mauve equals beige at whatever your skin tone level is for a green undertone is a good starting point. Then we have this, I know, I know. You're like, that's not beige. This is the most desaturated pink blush I have ever had, and it is so expired. So expired. Like, it's disgusting. It's pretty much empty, and I need to buy another one because I love it so much. But this is a Charlotte Tilbury Matte Beauty Blush Wand. I've said it once. I've said it a million times, actually. This is a perfect product. I think that it is absolutely exquisite. And even it has just a ton of beautiful desaturated mauve. Like, you think it's going to be pink, and it is. You know, it is. But it's more mauve than a lot of these are. Like, it doesn't have as much red, and so I'm not necessarily saying that one is going to turn beige on every olive undertone, but it definitely doesn't have as much orange in it as even some of these other ones do. I have here do they still make the bronzer? Is Bare Minerals doing okay? I don't know. This is the Bare Minerals Gen Nude Bronzer in Kiss of Mauve, and this feels like an eyeshadow. This stuff is nuts. It's so kind of like soft, and it has shimmer to it, but the shimmer, I don't feel like the shimmer is like too bad. It doesn't look like, I don't know, like that gray mica shift on the skin. And you can tell that's very much like the Charlotte Tilbury. It's got that like pink to it. That means you're going to get more saturation out of it on an olive undertone. Like, it's going to be further towards a bronzer than it is a contour, if that makes sense. And finally, no, you cannot get this. I don't know anywhere that would still stock this, but this is for reference, right? This is the Chanel Blush Harmony in Beige, Rosé, a Mauve, and this is one of the most exquisite things that they've ever put out. In fact, I think it's the last good release they put out. I said it. But yeah, it is this gorgeous mauve blush that I do think also would work both as a beautiful kind of contour shade on an olive undertone or just a really like desaturated beige blush. So isn't it fascinating when you see all the ones that I swatched that are cool by comparison against each other, because it contextualizes some of them as being so warm. Like, look at Spell now. Spell looks downright peach by comparison, but it is very not. But you can see how color theory has everything to do with context, right? And has to do with what's adjacent to it, what's under it, things like that. And so I encourage y'all to play with these things and kind of think around, maybe my perfect beige isn't beige at all. All right, let's move to the neutrals. There really aren't very many here. And I will say, this is the motliest crew. Neutral was based entirely on undertone, but like, these are not products that are inherently like that much alike. The way that these kind of all share like a harmony, I don't feel like all of these share a harmony as much. So first we have Crystal Slipper from RMS, and this one is, I have to just say it's neutral because it is. It's kind of a pinky, mauvey, beigey tan. It's meant to be a very ambiguous color. And you'll see it's not all the way to peach and it's not all the way to mauve. It's just kind of right there in the middle, but it does have a surprising amount of saturation. And this is the lip to cheek. This is not the highlight. I know it looks like it's, you know, really sheer and iridescent. I have the highlight and this is not it, but it does have quite a bit of iridescence to it. And you can see how we're moving a little bit more towards a beige for me, being a neutral. Then we have Bare Muse. I read in a comment the other day, somebody say, this is from Soshi, I think they were referring to this, that this is supposed to be a nude for olives. They might have meant Speakeasy, because Speakeasy I think would be more like that. But this, I have swatched it on Rebecca, my green friend, and it did go quite peach. Okay, let's just say peach. She would say orange, but yeah, that is an ideal beige on me. Do you see how it just kind of like settles right in with my freckles and my undertone? That's kind of what I'm hoping to help people achieve, is that color, but on your skin depth and your skin undertone based on these recommendations as to where you need to kind of skew it on the color wheel. Then we have the RMS Crystal Slipper Blush. Absolutely gorgeous. It should be basically the same color. Yeah, it is. And while that isn't beige, it looks beige in the pan, doesn't it? Wow. Yeah, no, it's actually pretty peach, isn't it? By comparison, I feel like if I wore it alone, you'd be like, oh, that's a really nice kind of like close to your skin tone kind of color, especially spread out sheerly. But next to everything else, I mean, it glows almost peach. Then we have Mimi from Westman Atelier. This one is another beautiful, neutral, desaturated kind of beigey color on me. Look at that. But I swear, that color will go orange on some fair olives, okay? I know. There are plenty of people I know who have bought this being like, oh, it's beige, and then they get it on their skin, they're like, well, not on me. So don't be fooled by me having a neutral undertone, okay? Believe my words. Like, that's not going to be like a desirable beige on a green undertone. Then we have one that I actually haven't reviewed. I've been using it, but I haven't reviewed it because I don't really think there's that much to say about it. But this is the Outdoor Blush from Burberry in Sand Beige. And you can see it's very, very similar to Bare Muse from Sochi. So, I mean, the price difference here is absolutely wild. I don't think you need the Burberry one. And I didn't mention it this time, but like, I adore this formula, and there are a lot of shades in this that are also incredibly gorgeous just from a blush perspective. This is this just incredible, like, soft, velvety, putty hybrid finish. It's absurd. Then we have NARS Madly, and this is, again, it's quite neutral. It has a little bit of a shimmer to it. We'll put it right there. It's getting a little towards peachy, but if I applied that on its own and it wasn't next to this one that's almost kind of green, then you would think it was beige. You know what I mean? Madly is extremely easy for me to wear, and it does kind of like lean ever so slightly peachy, but nowhere near as much as Crystal Slipper from RMS. Next, we have a discontinued one that you'll never be able to find. There has to be one in every category, I guess, and that is the shade 20 in the Neo Nude Melting Color Balm from Giorgio Armani. Now, every time I say something like that, like, well, I can't get this anymore, someone will show up in my comments who knows more than I do, and they'll be like, actually, they're re-releasing it. I hope so, because I know one Miss Natalie of my Skintrist will be very excited. This is very much like the Sochi, and honestly, pretty similar in shade to the Whoa, that's interesting. Yeah, wait a second. Is the Sochi, I hate the word dupe, because I think of dupe as the word duplicate, but everybody seems to think that dupe always has to mean that it is less expensive. In this case, it probably would be less expensive. Armani gives you like no product for your money, but this is the Armani in 20 and this is Bare Muse. So Bare Muse is pinker, but they're really like, they're identical formulas. I wouldn't have remembered that this formula was like that if I hadn't touched it. They are identical formulas. If you loved the Neo Nude Melting Color Balm for cheeks and eyes from Armani back in the day, check out those Sochi blushes, because that is the same texture. And we have one more of those MAC Powder Kiss Lip and Cheek mousses. This is in Over the Taupe, and I'll just kind of stick that right there. Oh, haha, that tickled. It made me want to sneeze. And this is, believe it or not, you know, it's just a very like neutral, but it's more saturated, and so by it being more saturated, it's going to look redder on me, but on a deeper neutral, it's just going to look like a nice, pretty, you know, nude brown on you. So there's our cools, there's our neutrals. This is working out pretty well. So finally, let's move into the warms. Now, if there are some in here where you're like, khaki, that's not beige at all, just grant me a little bit of grace. I wanted to include as many people as possible because here's the thing, right? On the color wheel, like I said, blue cancels out orange. So we need to kind of add orange back in, or pink even, to make a beige look more beige on a blue undertone. I know, you're like, what? It has to be deftly done, and the saturation has to match perfectly, okay? If you try and go too saturated, you're gonna see that orange, okay? But peach is a blue undertone's best friend, because you're gonna get a really pretty beigey pink out of it. So here we have Gale from Glossier. This is another one that's that really nice hybrid formula. It's a little bit drier than the Armani and the Sochi. The only thing about this line is that they're like all warm. So there's Gale. See, it's still a gorgeous beige. And this is quite like neutral on me, neutral to peach. I'm telling you, I was with Hindash when we were first swatching these. We were at the Soho Glossier store, and I mean, every single one of them turned orange on his olive undertone, so just beware. Then we have Chow in the Super Suede Radiant Blush Powder from Say. Say isn't a brand that I like buy every single thing from, but this definitely intrigued me. I liked the baked formula. I thought it was probably going to be a lot like Milani, you know, and it is. It's really nice. And it doesn't really have even the amount of shimmer in it that Milani does. I really like the Milani baked blushes, but yeah, this is a really beautiful, subtle baked blush formula. I like it a lot. And so that's Ciao. Is that so beautiful? It's so beautiful, and it makes Gail look downright mauve. That is hilarious. And I apologize that I don't have like an enormous range of like deep tones for this. Unfortunately, I am usually buying like within a few shades of my own skin tone so that I'll actually get use out of something. If I have something that's quite deep, it's because I own the whole line usually. Here we have Armani. I don't think you can get this color anymore. I bought this right when it came out, and this is shade 10 in the Armani Luminous Silk Glow Blush. They came out with another beige, but I don't think it's shade 10. You had to go on the website to buy this. I don't know. So that's that. It's just this really, really light kind of desaturated pinky beige. But like, again, I don't really know if you can get it anymore. Okay, then we have Persona Teddy. And Teddy is straight up orange, okay? The people I know who can wear this are either a very saturated blue undertone or a very saturated like orange undertone or red undertone, because it either needs to be counterbalanced with your undertone but still have that punch of saturation from your skin, or it needs to like match. You know what I mean? But if it matches, it's still going to read orange, whereas on a cooler undertone it's going to like tone it down a little bit. But Teddy is really hard to wear. It's just a very, very strange shade. I've never found it to be particularly cooperative. Then we have Terracotta from Merit. And Terracotta, in context, it looks really orange, but it's not that orange. It's more peachy, and I do feel like its sheerness is going to lend itself well to counterbalancing other undertones so that it doesn't go ashy. All right, next I have Maiden's Blush from RMS. This is another one that's that reddish saturated beige. Do you see that? It's got quite a bit of that kind of rich red in it, and that's going to pull beige on undertones that are on the opposite side of the color wheel from that. So I do feel like it has a little bit more mauve to it. I think that like a cool olive could get a lot of use out of something like that from a beige standpoint. A warm olive is going to find it to be a touch peach probably for you. Then we have, oh boy, cream to powder blush. That's a lot of French. From Chanel in Beige Éclatant. Éclatant. So this is another one of those really great kind of hybrid-y formulas. I don't know if Chanel did the best job of this out there. Like, there are more elegant formulas. It looks icky. You know what I mean? I like it when it looks all smooth on top and it kind of gets all chunky. It's just not, I don't use it that much because it's just like not that remarkable of a version of this formula, but it is a really nice color. That right there, that is a peach that is going to go the most beautiful color on a blue undertone, okay? Like, it's got just the right amount of pink to it, just that little touch of orange that's going to counterbalance it, and you're gonna end up with this really pretty beige. And last but certainly not least, I have here the Fenty Cheeks Suede Powder Blush in Bacon Cakes 01. The only thing, wow, that's a smooth formula. Is it a putty? It is a little bit of a putty. It's like a hybrid. Okay, cool. By embossing. The only thing that I don't like about this formula is that mica is the first ingredient, and so it does that thing that I don't like where you can see the gray cast. It's the same thing that bugged me about the Farah Hamidi bronzer and stuff like that, and that is just that, like, it doesn't matter what color it is, it's going to kind of pull this weird gray in the light. All of these Fenty blushes do that, at least all the ones that I bought. But again, that has just the right amount of peach to it, just the right amount of balance to it that I think on a blue undertone that's going to pull an absolutely gorgeous kind of neutral beige on you. So here we have cool, neutral, warm. And you can see we're not talking about that big of a difference in terms of, you know, I'm a neutral, right? You're looking at all of these and you're like, Khaki, those all kind of look like they'd look okay on you, and they do, with the exception of Teddy. They all look fine on me because I'm neutral, you know, but they look like the color that they are. These are beige on me. These are going to go beige on people for whom things go orange, and these are going to go beige on people for whom things tend to turn to gray. And so if we're talking about undertones, I know that there were a couple of undertones like color-wise that got left out here. But when we're talking about beige, it's kind of such a murky area that we're talking more about relative temperature than we are necessarily about like perfectly dialing in your undertone. So that's why we're talking about like cool, neutral, warm versions of a beige. As it pertains to the color wheel, if you have a green undertone, you're going to want to add more pink or red to a formula to get it to go neutral. If you have a neutral undertone like me, you probably don't need to add anything in it to make it neutral, okay? Neutral is, you know, a balance of yellow and orange. If you have a blue undertone, you're gonna wanna add, oddly enough, orange into it, but kind of think peachy and try and match your saturation level as well as you can. Otherwise, it is going to just stand out in stark contrast. Purple undertones are going to cancel out any yellow that's in there. And so you are actually going to want to add a little bit more yellow. So like these ones that are a little bit orangier, your skin is actually going to kind of neuter them. My boyfriend has a purple undertone. This color right here, he turns it like the most beautiful, soft, rosy beige because his skin tone is canceling out all the yellow. It's gorgeous. And then Natalie, my teal undertoned Natalie, especially if you have more saturation to your skin's gonna kind of try and cancel out like the warmer pinks in things. And so adding pink is always a good idea, but also bearing in mind that sometimes it's just a saturation issue and that if it goes gray, it might not be that it is a bad undertone for you. It might just be that it's not saturated enough. The same as we talked about with like foundations and stuff. So bear that kind of thing in mind. If you're unfamiliar with what saturation is, that's very desaturated and that's very saturated. Do you see how much gray is in that versus that? Saturation is just about how much gray is in something. And sometimes your skin just appears gray, like mine. Now I know that there are some people probably having the urge right now to say, hey Khaki, it would be really fun at the end of a video like this if you took a big cream brush and just swirled them all together. I've done it. It's in poor taste. Just doesn't look right, okay? I hope that this was helpful for y'all. I know, it's kind of like a brain warp. So I will link all of these products down below. I will, I don't know, welcome your questions and also your experiences in the comments because I know that when we talk about the color wheel, we're talking entirely in like pure color terms and the real world is not really made of pure colors. So there are going to be a lot of deviations in people's experiences. And not only do I want to know those, but I want other people reading the comments to like feel seen and heard by people who share their same, you know, challenges because I have seen that happen in the comments and it's so lovely. It's so lovely when people are like, oh, me too. Oh my gosh. You know what I mean? Like make friends, please. This is a community of discussing the color theory of our skin tones. I am not like the grand poobah. I'm not out here being like, my word is final and I control the colors. No, I hope not. That's a lot of responsibility. Anyway, y'all, let me know what you want to see next. I did get a request from people being like, can you grab a bunch of products and be like, this is what's good for undertones, you know, green undertone, another video for blue undertone, another video for, you know, purple undertone or an orange undertone or whatever. And the answer is absolutely yes. I did one for olive undertones and then my computer ate it because I bought a new computer and I was editing that video and the computer ended up being way too slow. And so I brought the computer back and the computer in between there just like took the footage off my hard drive and then poof, it was gone. And so I did not end up publishing that video. But yes, I have baited before. I will make it again. And I was so excited how many people replied to that comment. So if you have any other video ideas, please let me know. I want to make as useful content as possible for y'all. So if you did enjoy this, please give the video a thumbs up. If you are new here or you're just not yet subscribed, please subscribe while you're here. We would love to have you. I'm almost at 139,000, but who's counting? I will put a video up here that I think you'll enjoy if you liked this one. Thank y'all so much for being here. I love you so much. Clearly. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye.